This month, we're sharing testimonies from our listeners and some of our previous guests. Testimonies of God's direction, miraculous moments on set, examples of God taking what was offered and multiplying it in ways that were never imagined. Here's one of those testimonies.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling.
I'm Tara Massey, and I was the producer and lead actress in the movie Do Not Grow Weary. It takes a miracle to make a movie, and we certainly got our miracle. When we were in pre-production, and I was having a really hard time just in life in general, going through some anxiety and depression, and we had a lot of pressures from the world, and it was excruciating, to be honest. And there was a moment where I had just a breaking point, and I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. I just have no idea what to do. And a song popped in my head, and it was, I cast all my cares upon you. I lay all of my burdens down at your feet. And anytime I don't know what to do, I will cast all my cares upon you. And it was that moment that I realized it was 1 Peter 5:7. God's promised us that we can cast all our cares upon him, for he cares for you. And at that moment, I realized I had a lot of things I cared about. And then I realized that my anxiety and depression was due to all these fears that I had, that I didn't even realize I had fears. I thought I was just trying to do life here. And I realized that I thought that I was in control, and then if I didn't do these things right and in the right time, that everything would fall apart. But that wasn't true. God had it all along. And that's the piece that I needed to know before making this movie. When we made Do Not Grow Weary, I was able to lay out all of the things before the Lord as a to-do list and said, okay, God, here are all of my cares. The cast I care about, I just need to make sure that we have everything in the right place at the right time, and the locations and the food or sponsorships. And I was juggling all of the details. And God started to fill those needs with all kinds of people that came into our circle at last minute even. We saw the most random people come at the most random times to fill in a huge gap for our production, and it was really incredible. That was a miracle. We also saw the Lord just provide in the most perfect ways and in the most perfect timing. At times it would seem like it was last minute, but it really wasn't. It was perfect. But the biggest unexpected miracle that I saw was at our premiere. I was really excited to proclaim about what God had done through this whole production and how he used our act of obedience just to bless our hearts. And it was just really exciting to be able to want to share that with people, but the Lord led in a different way. And as I was getting up to speak at our premiere and tell a little bit about the behind the scenes, God led me in a whole different direction, and I shared details that I wasn't planning on sharing. And it was in that moment that God revealed to me that most of my audience were not believers. And it was in that moment that I realized my audience was not the church. And our so-called faith-based film, we had started making this film, but honestly, we didn't have clarity on who our audience was and who this would appeal to. I know that sounds weird, but we didn't. And I'm so grateful that God made that clear to me. But he also made that clear to me on another film set when I was a stand-in on a Netflix set, and there's a group of stand-ins, probably about 5 of us. We had to stand there for about 30 minutes. And while we were clustered together, just standing there, we were able to get into a really amazing conversation. And it started with somebody mentioning something about a divine moment in their life, but they were a non-believer. And then it was really cool to be able to share other stories of people who had these divine moments, like where clearly there was a higher being involved. And I was able to share not only my testimony, but some stories of other people, including other Hollywood actors. So we just had some really cool conversations. We were able to talk openly about God, and I'm really excited to see what the Lord does with those seeds that were planted.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.